Good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's Agenda Forum on Wednesday, the 3rd of September 2025. I'd just like to begin with our acknowledgement of country. The City of Swan acknowledges the traditional custodians of this region, the Whadjuk people of the Noongar Nation, and their continuing connection to the land, waters, and community. And we pay our respects to elders past, present, and their descendants. The terms and conditions of entry into this meeting are posted on the entry of the public gallery, and members of the public are advised to read them prior to attending this meeting and please to abide by them. Attendance and apologies. We have Councillor Jagdeep Singh attending electronically online. Not at this stage yet. And we have staff in attendance. We have a leave of absence from Councillor Oringo, Councillor Prodovnik, and I have not heard from Councillor Catalano at this stage. Part 4, declarations of financial and proximity interests and interests affecting impartiality. There are nil. And we move to Part 5, petitions. We have Mr. Greg Ross, who's presenting a petition tonight. A member of the public is confined to reading the request, and you may come to the podium if you like, and you have 2 minutes.
There's always somebody can turn it on. I'm not sure of the correct address, but good evening, ladies and gentlemen and officials. I'll try not to waste too much time. I'm here to present a petition and ask that the council considers putting up a fenced off-leash dog run in Nathan Square Park. I haven't picked that arbitrarily. In fact, my thanks to the Deputy Mayor, Ian Johnson, who I think is there. I haven't met the chap who told me about that. And a bit of support from Sarah Howlett as well. Thank you. The petition, reading it out as I understand, says create a fenced off-leash dog run at Nathan Square Park. And that's its title. And the issue, there is an urgent need for a purpose-built off-leash safe fenced run for dogs in Swan View. Currently, dog owners need to travel considerable distances to Whiteman Park and Bayswater to find a safe, properly fenced, fit-for-purpose facility. The council has looked at creating such a venue in the heavily treed area on the southern side of Nathan Square Park. There'll be no need to interfere with the grassed oval or the children's playing area. It's actually a superb site, perfect for what's so desperately needed. Deputy Mayor Ian Johnson has recommended the community start a petition to express support for the concept in order for the City of Swan to gauge the need. What's needed is 2 fenced enclosures with double entry gates for each enclosure. One enclosure for small dogs, say 10 kilograms and under, and one for large dogs, 10 kilograms and over. Both enclosures to have water points for the dogs and seating for people. The trees are already there, superb. Consideration should also be given to a 3rd enclosure for reactive, aggressive dogs that can't be socialised with other dogs. To sign the petition, it's just then it tells people what to do about the petition. I've supplied it to staff. I don't know how to pronounce the lady's name, Suan, I think, in electronic form. I did look at it today and try to print out the addresses, and I got the thing back saying, look, you can't have addresses because data protected. And I thought, I need a glass of wine from the Swan Valley. But the lady assured me that they can deal with that. And I do apologise for the lady from Brazil and the lady from Germany who seem to have enthusiastically signed the petition. I know you people have considered down at Morrison Road, but I think Nathan Square far beats that because you haven't got the traffic flow problems you've got down there with the parking. You've got a lot of older people with dogs.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ross. I've just allowed another extra minute on top of it, so you've had 3 minutes. But if you would like to hand that petition up, thank you, and that will be tabled at next week's ordinary council meeting. Thank you very much for that, and thank you for your presentation. We'll move to part 6, reports and notices of motion. 6.1 is additional information from officers. An addendum to the agenda has been provided and it's uploaded on the city's website. 6.2, we move to deputations. In accordance with the current procedures for public participation at agenda forums, all requests for in-person deputations were required by 6 p.m. on Tuesday the 2nd of September 2025. All written deputations were received by 3 p.m. on Tuesday the 2nd of September 2025, were circulated with the preliminary agenda on Tuesday evening. This brings us to 14.3.1, which is the proposed amendment to number 4 to the Dayton Local Structure Plan number 4, SP17-31E. And we have our first in-person deputation, not in support of the officer's recommendation, Ms Cheryl Rogers. If you'd like to come to the podium, and you have 3 minutes, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and councillors. I'm Cheryl Rogers. We grow trees immediately east of Melbourne Street, where we are witnessing the failure of the drainage system for the northeast section of Dayton. And the one message I would like to give you throughout my next 1 or 2 minutes is that water runs downhill. Water does not run uphill. Okay, so the area you are considering is uphill of the failing drainage system. If more buildings go into that area near Citrus Avenue, more water will be delivered into a system that already is not coping. The reason it's not coping is that there's a dud basin. There's a dud in the chain of delivery of water from up the hill down into the main drainage outlet. And the dud is Basin B. If you've seen the water management plan, there's A, B, C and D. And water is meant to pass from Basin B into Basin C and then D, and then down Melbourne Street to the Cranley Street exit drainage. But the problem is that the Dampier to Bunbury natural gas pipeline is between Basin B and Basin C. That means the water pipe exiting Basin B couldn't go through the pipeline. A decision must have been made at some point not to dig under the pipeline. Therefore, it goes over the pipeline, and that puts the pipe too high to take the water out of B into C, because water will not run uphill. The consequence of this is now we're seeing 3 water pumps being used to bypass Basin B because the system doesn't work on its own. Now, that can't go on forever, can it? You can't have water pumps, noisy water pumps, delivering water, bypassing a vital point of the system, because that point is a dud. So how can you approve more water into a system that's failing? What you should do, in my opinion, is to push the pause button, get the system fixed before it has more water delivered into it. Because people are saying, yeah, sure, it's been a wet winter. It hasn't been all that wet. It's been about 40% wetter than average based on the 22-year rainfall figures at West Swan. I looked up this morning the rainfall from the 1st of January to the 3rd of August, when we noticed the system failing out at Basin A, which is on Citrus Avenue. The rainfall compared to the 140-year average this year was 28 millimetres higher. Well, that's only one decent rainfall event. So if you're going to be voting to approve it, you really need to think of the consequences, because this is going to cost an awful lot of money. There's going to be damage to property. There are people in this room who are witnessing damage to their houses.
Thank you.
We're seeing it with our trees. Okay.
Very much.
All right, thanks.
That was your 3 minutes. Thank you, Cheryl. I'll ask, we have the next in-person deputation. Questions first. Councillor Bowman.
Sorry, through you, Madam Mayor, to Cheryl. Can you just repeat that last part?
About if you approve it, you'll be delivering more water into a system that is already overloaded. What happens is Basin B cannot empty unless it has pumps. Therefore, the water backwashes back to Basin A, and that's why we saw all that flooding on Citrus Avenue this year, even as early as August the 3rd, when we hadn't even nudged a moderate rainfall record. Is that clear? Okay.
Okay. Councillors, any further questions? Deputy Mayor.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, my question is, in the report, can you explain where basins A, B, C and D are?
I'll send it to you. I got the drainage plan. I'll send that to all councillors because I had a lot of trouble getting it. The city staff wouldn't give it to me, so I had to go through Freedom of Information, and even then I didn't get the tech drawings, but I have them now, and I'm very happy to share them with anyone who's interested.
Okay, so just a further question. Are these drainage basins in the area shown in the plans here? I'm looking at page 37.
You won't see B, C and D, but the trouble is it's all connected, it's all one system, so you can't isolate one basin, from another. Is that clear?
Not completely.
I'll-
I can see the Bunbury, the Dampier to
Yeah,
Bunbury gas
good.
pipeline. So I'm
But you
looking at
can't
page,
see B?
I'm looking at page 37 of the agenda. I don't know if you've got a copy.
I
of it.
haven't got that, but I will send you the information before you have to vote, because when you vote, of course, your name will be on what you decide. And, I therefore feel a responsibility to inform you of what we know based on our experience. And it's a real shame that the public didn't have an opportunity to comment on the drainage plan that was approved in August 2024, because we might together have sorted this out.
And another question, is Citrus Avenue shown on these diagrams?
Yeah, Citrus Avenue is in the area that you're appraising.
Okay,
Yeah.
I think that's about as far as I can go. But I'll ask, okay, thanks, Councillor.
Thank you. I have a councillor for a
I'll have
question
questions for staff afterwards.
from Councillor Singh, who's online.
Okay,
Hello, are you hear me?
Yes.
I can.
Yes, thank you very much for presentation. Is possible, can you send me as well the drainage plan, please?
I will send everyone the
to all
drainage plan,
councillors.
anyone who's interested.
Thank you.
Yeah, because I already requested to the city previously from following up when it happened, from when it come in my notice. So if you have a user access to, can you send to me, and then we have to decide it. Thank you.
Yes, sure.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Deputy Mayor.
Yeah, further question. Just, can you describe the scale of the flood or the drainage problem?
I can send you photos that show it. There was water flooding out of Basin A across Citrus Avenue to the curb of houses under construction. There was a light pole on the area that hasn't been built yet, where the groundwater was right up to the base of the pole. The photos will tell the story, and I'll make sure you have them before next Wednesday.
Okay, thank you.
Councillors, any further questions for Ms Rogers? Right, thank you very much for your deputation tonight. I'll ask Ms Janzek if she'd like to come to the podium, and you also have 3 minutes. Thank you.
Wrong one. Thank you. Dayton LSP4 Amendment 4 entails reducing drainage infrastructure and public open space and replacing it with additional housing. No drainage documents were presented for comment in the amendment final version because an alternative drainage strategy has been approved and constructed. This amendment can't be assessed without the consideration of drainage. This is its core. Alternate constructed drainage doesn't work, and no amount of tweaking has improved it. It is grossly irresponsible of council to even consider giving up the land and opportunity to reinstate the original design without a working alternative. The release of the Urban Water Management Plan documents in the first approval attempt provided the public with an opportunity to interrogate them. Close inspection exposes their inadequacy. I was an architect for over 20 years and had senior roles in high-profile national and state projects. I taught drafting at Curtin University. If one of my students or a consultant produced drawings the calibre of these drainage documents, they would have failed or been sacked. It's no wonder the alternate approved drainage doesn't work. The design and its documentation are flawed. Interrogation of documents revealed that the design doesn't meet the stated criteria. The required slope for vegetating the basin was ignored. No thriving vegetation means no water quality control. This would require larger basins than those depicted. Basin A has been designed to receive all drainage waters, holding it long enough to strip pollutants from before discharging along the system. It has the same top of water level, 19.7 AHD, for 1 in 1 year to 1 in 100 year events. It regularly overtops this level, encroaching on residential lots only a few metres away and spreading across the street. The drawings don't show the 19.7 contour line. They stop 30 centimetres short at 19.4. Perhaps this is at the heart of the problem. The basin isn't big enough to manage the amount of stormwater and groundwater discharging from the site. Professional drawings would have shown Basin A at its required size, revealing that there is no way it could fit into the reduced public open space without modification. If this amendment had been subjected to proper and orderly planning, the public would have alerted the city to the glaring oversights and flaws in the alternate drainage before it was built. As it is, the city will wear the cost of managing the unmanageable, and we will be watching. There was an obvious solution, but this door closed when the modifications that should have been the subject of an amendment were approved via an extremely dubious process. The passage of this amendment has been a calamity of errors. Don't let your names be added to the list of people who have contributed to it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms Zek. Questions from councillors? Does anyone have a question tonight? No. Thank you very much for your statement. I'll ask in-person deputations in support of the officer's recommendation, excluding the schedules of modification, from Mr Justin Hanson from URPS. Good evening, and you have 3 minutes.
Cheers. Good evening, Mayor, councillors and officers. Thanks for the opportunity to comment on the Amendment 4. Whilst the officer report focuses on one key modification relating to the Cap Road on Harrow Street, I'll focus on 3 critical aspects of this amendment, being road design, tree retention and drainage, each of which has been carefully considered and technically resolved in response to public submissions and deputations tonight. Cap Road I'll get on to second, but given the current deputations, the drainage A, so on the agenda, page 36, Basin A is basically the amendment area. Basins B, C and D are outside the amendment area. So while our strategies address those other basins, the amendment before you is specifically on Basin A. Drainage has been a long-standing issue, and we recognise that along Citrus Avenue. The amendment enables a series of engineered upgrades that have been designed in extensive consultation with the city engineers, and are ready for it to be implemented. These measures, Citrus Avenue will be lifted by up to 500 mil to eliminate nuisance flooding at 3 low points. Drainage pit lids and light poles will be raised, improving freeboard and resilience. Basin A will be widened to increase capacity and reduce ponding while preserving usable open space and tree cover. Catchment overflow from the west will be diverted north into Islington and Harrow, bypassing Basin A, but as a result, additional catchment will be directed to Harrow Street, easing pressure on Citrus Avenue, which is the current situation that many have commented on. These solutions are technically sound, coordinated and existing infrastructure, and contingent upon approval of this amendment and the associated subdivision plan. So we can't fix the problem until we've got the approval and the engineering works can happen. The Cap Road, which is the one modification, so the city officers and engineers have supported the drainage solution. The one thing that has recommended to be changed is the Cap Road, which is, everyone understand what a Cap Road is? Just the small inlet road. The amendment proposes the removal of this short controlled access cap along Harrow Street. We don't consider this to be a downgrade, it's more of a strategic improvement for the net developable area. Harrow Street is designed as an neighbourhood connector A with a reduced speed of 50 kilometres an hour. our independent traffic engineers have confirmed that projected traffic volumes will remain well below the threshold that requires a cap. Previous studies discussed volumes of up to 8,000 vehicles per day. However, these were hypothetical numbers based on road network scenarios we believe will no longer occur. Removing the cap road simplifies the network, improves access and aligns with Liberal Neighbourhoods principles. It also enables better subdivision outcomes without compromising safety or connectivity.
Thank you, Mr. Hanson. I'll just ask, do you have much more?
Just two sentences.
Extension of time?
Yep.
For how long?
30 seconds. Yep.
I think it's 1 minute in, please.
The nexus for the cap road was based on the original high volume scenario of Harrow Street connecting with Drumpelia Drive. Based on the established road connections to Drumpelia Drive at the moment, there is no sound planning or engineering merit based on spacing of intersections and general safety of Drumpelia to warrant further intersections in the vicinity of Harrow Street. For this reason, the volumes will not be met as per the original forecasting.
Thank you very much. Councillor Bowman.
Thank you. Just a couple of questions, and I know this area well because I used to ride my dinky bike down there about 45 years ago. So you mentioned Basin A, and you're going to raise Citrus Avenue by half a metre, plus a couple of other things to light poles and that. So is that admitting that you've got an issue with water?
Well, currently it pools, currently the drainage pools. So by the modification, lifting the site, allowing the basin A to become larger and deeper as a result, that captures the drainage provision for our subdivision area. You still have the connectivity to B, C and D. They're outside the area. They've already been approved under subdivision.
Yeah, I'm not worried about
Yeah.
B, C, D. I'm asking just on this one.
Yep.
So if you're making the basin bigger, wouldn't you normally have more POS, not less?
It just becomes more efficient in the design. The previous design was a shallower basin. So the shallower it is, the more spread out it has to be. So by lifting the site, you overcome that flaw.
And then did I hear you correctly that then you want to divert some of it away from Basin A and over the road to Harrow Street and let it go through there?
It's part of the broader catchment. So from the west, would be diverted to Islington and Harrow, so bypasses A. So I think the northern cells that front onto Harrow, they will be diverted to B, or the internal network will be diverted to A as a catchment.
Okay, so obviously because you're making a point of not wanting to talk about B, C and D, and I understand it's outside this area. My understanding from a planning point of view, when I build a house, I've got to maintain the water on my block. So surely when you build a development, you maintain the water on your development site. Why should we, tell me why we should approve more housing at the expense of POS, which seems to be going to be a future cost impost to everyone else. I understand developers are here to make money, but we've got to look at it for the benefit of the whole community, not necessarily now, but in 20 years' time.
I think if you wandered around the district playing field that's there, to say that there was a shortfall of POS, it's not a realistic outcome. We're already 26% of the broader site. As a structure plan area, you need to provide 10%. So notwithstanding the district playing field contributes to that heavily, I think that the space around the ovals, let alone the playing fields, there's ample opportunity to walk dogs and passive recreate while the playing fields are in use. Okay.
Just to let you know, you can't actually have dogs off leads when you're actually using the ovals, because that'd be a breach of our dog local law. Am I correct that your approval at the moment is for 1.0153 hectares, and that's what was approved for that POS?
1.05 was the original structure plan.
Okay.
Yep, down to 0.235. But the original design was a much more shallow basin, so it took up a fair portion of the site. So based on the landscaping plan, which I think, I'm not sure what page it is on the agenda, but you can see the extent of tree retention and the wider basin to accommodate the additional drainage.
But you've mentioned now twice about the extra tree retention, but am I correct there will be actually a tree reduction? Because obviously you're going to bulldoze, if you get your way, to do more housing. So I've been advised that you actually lose more trees, not gain trees.
You'll lose trees where the residential area is to the northern cell. That northern cell is already being developed for residential purposes. So the extent of trees in the POS pocket, if I can get my... Yeah, if you go to the landscaping plan, you should be able to see, which I think is an appendix to the report. You'll see trees in red, those that are being removed, green being retained.
Okay. So final question, 'cause I'm sure other councillors have. So what you're basically telling me, instead of having a shallow basin that is usually a usable POS, we're now going to have a big hole but smaller. Is in a nutshell, I'm a black and white bloke. Is that pretty well what you're telling me?
Yeah, within
you.
reason. Yep.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor, you had a question?
Yeah, I've got several questions. My first question is about page 37 of the agenda. And I'm looking at a plan that shows the approved structure plan, and below that the proposed structure plan. So what I'm trying to do is to relate the two together. So are you looking at the same diagram that I'm looking at?
37?
Got
Yep.
access to page 37?
Yeah, I got it.
So below is the proposed revised structure plan, and that is showing a portion of the above plan being modified, and it appears to remove a road and remove some public open space. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah.
All right, okay. Now, on page 37, that lower diagram, proposed structure plan, we've got a little rectangle there, which is the area of the change. Does that relate to the orange square on page 36?
The orange square. I'm not understanding what you're asking there.
This is the challenge for us councillors.
Page 36.
Page 36. There's
Yes.
there's a satellite photo, and there's an orange box.
Yes, that's the orange box on page 36 is the total site.
Well, so he's saying that the orange box does not correspond to the proposed structure plan amendment area.
It does.
It does.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, it's rectangle. If you look at the bottom figure of page 37, the rectangle shape.
Right, okay.
Yep.
So now what I understand is that drainage basin A, is in that area on page 37, where it says EPOS FO2. Presumably that green area there
Correct.
is where the basin is. Okay.
Yes. Yep. And on page 36, it's all the temporary basin is shown in that bottom right corner.
Bottom right. I see. That's that area that looks like it might be water just there. So if there's apparently a flooding problem, why would you reduce the area of the drainage pond basin?
Well, there's a flooding area issue at the moment because the site hasn't been developed to manage that water. Once it's filled, once it's piped, once it's landscaped, then that drainage issue on citrus goes away.
Okay, right. Now I do notice that on the looking at page 37 again, we can see the easement area for the Dampier to Bunbury
Yes.
gas pipeline. So we've heard from previous deputations that it's impossible for water to move from drainage basin B, which presumably is in the area of this diagram, to drainage area C, which is presumably just off to the right, because it would have to go uphill over the easement of the pipeline. Is that correct?
Yeah, to be honest, I haven't studied that area because haven't been involved directly, but my assumption is when that area in the corner is developed the same way as our site is, it gets raised, that pipe eventually runs down, not up.
That's true, but
It has,
unless
we have to fill the site to a certain level.
but do we know that as a fact? I mean, obviously, if the area that you're showing us is going to be higher, then the water will flow downhill. But at this point, how does this council actually know that as a fact? I don't see any levels on here.
Yeah, it might be honourable for the officers, engineers, whether they can answer that in detail. But Tony, do you know offhand? The basin B being in the corner. No, it's not our site, but that site has to be developed in its own right. So you have to fill the site.
Okay.
So the same reason why we're addressing Basin A will be Basin B.
Okay, so obviously you're relying on Basin B being connected to Basin C. Next question, I've got a slightly different set of questions. If I look at your reports here, if I look at the amendment, I'm looking at the table of contents and I'm seeing that it goes up to page 57. And on page 30, I've got groundwater and surface water. And on page 3.6, section 3.6, page 50, water management. Is that in the agenda? Are those sections in this agenda?
You'd have a drainage strategy for the particular site, not for the broad area, yes.
Yeah, but is it actually in this document that we've got in
It
front of us?
should be, yes.
I can't find it. If someone could tell me what page it's on, I'd be very interested to read it.
Oh, sorry, the local water management strategy for the original structure plan has still been referenced, but as part of subdivision and as part of ongoing strategy for this area, there will be a localised urban water management plan.
But there's been a submission here of an amendment, and the complete amendment doesn't appear to have been submitted to the council, and I don't see any levels indicating how this is going to work or any explanation as to how these four drainage basins are connected together and how the groundwater is going to flow away from the area. If you can show me where it is, I'm happy to accept that I've not been able to find it, but I can't find it.
Yeah.
But as I'm pretty convinced it's not there, maybe I'll stop there and let another councillor have a go.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillors, are there any further questions for Mr Hanson? Councillor Henderson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think you said that your drainage in part will go down Harrow Street.
Yes.
Yes. What,
Those-
the north or the south side?
On the south side.
So how does it get to the drainage system
This
east
is
of Melbourne?
this is sheet. This is drainage hitting the road surface, and then traversing east towards Basin B.
So my understanding is that the road surface is higher than your drainage A, I think it is.
Repeat that, sorry.
The drainage, the road surface height, from what I can see, is higher than your drainage basin.
Maybe at present, but the site has to be
How does the water get
lifted.
out?
Sorry.
How does the water get out there then? Because there isn't actually an open drain available there, it's just the road.
Correct. Yeah. So it's so really you've got drainage on per dwelling that captures their own stormwater. Then you've got the road runoff as well. So by virtue of lifting the site, you've got the road runoff, and the road runoff will head east towards the Basin B.
Okay, I'll be keen to see what staff have got to say about those levels. And the other question, Madam Mayor, you've got quite a considerable reduction in your public open space, and you say there's plenty of public open space elsewhere. Would you be paying for the public open space as your contribution for the amount of reduction you've got?
Yeah, well, there's no contribution when you're above 26% or above 10%. We're at 26%. So the developer will be responsible for developing that POS itself. There is developer contributions involved as well, so that might be a reduction in the overall development costs as a result of that.
Sorry, maybe I didn't ask the question correctly. Pretty much all of the site is to be covered in housing,
Yes.
and we're talking about just this particular area. And so I want to know if the public open space that you're relying on elsewhere is effectively being paid for because of the reduction here.
Well, the contribution will probably be higher by the developer because they're creating more lots as a result. So the nexus or the balance of POS to properties is now going to be high, or sorry, the ratio of POS to properties is going to be lower because we're creating more lots.
I understand where you're going with that. Are you saying the other public open space is the same corporation that's already paid for that?
Yes. Well, yeah. Well, there's several POSs in the area,
Yeah.
all part of the developer contributions, which the developers will pay, and as a result of creating more lots, they'll pay an additional fee on a per lot basis.
I don't see how that's going to work, but thanks for the answer.
Councillors, are there any further questions for Mr Hanson? No. Thank you very much for your time and for answering those questions. I'll ask, would Mr Tony Alakowski from Strategic Property Group also like to come and present, or that was okay? Thank you both very much, gentlemen, for coming in this evening. We move to 14.3.2, which is the proposed amendment to DA 324-2024, the private psychiatric hostel, to extend the term of approval for a further 12 months. In-person deputations in support of the officer's recommendation, and we have Mr Nick Hidding. If you'd like to come to the podium, we have 3 minutes, thank you. Okay, just one moment, please. Sorry, we have someone up giving a deputation at the moment, Mr Kratt. Thank you. If you'd like to begin.
Thank you, Mayor, and good evening, councillors and staff. My name's Nick Hidding from Hidding Urban Planning, just presenting on item 14.3.2, which is proposed extension to the term of approval for the already approved psychiatric facility in John Street, Midland. In August of last year, this council approved a psychiatric care facility for 12 months, and we're seeking an extension by a further 12 months just due to the extensive licensing requirements that our client had to go through in order to operate the facility, which only came through in May of this year. So in reviewing the officer's recommendation, there's a recommendation for approval in the agenda papers, and we support that and would seek for the council to simply adopt that recommendation and approve the extension of time. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that deputation. I have Councillor Bowman with a question.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Back in August, the deputation said that was extremely urgent because you're about to get kicked out of Vic Park pretty well then and there. If it didn't get operational here or get all the approvals to May, where did those people go? Because that was obviously the rush back then.
Yeah, that's correct, and that was because of a pressing need for a new development project in Victoria Park, which didn't ultimately go ahead. So there was, as a result of that, there was an urgent need to move, but also we couldn't physically move the residents anyway until the licensing came through, which took a very long time, unfortunately. Yeah.
So just to clarify, it was urgent because you had an issue at Vic Park. That's why you wanted to move to Midland. The issue at Vic Park, which was would have lapsed in a planning approval or something like that, didn't go ahead. So why do you need Midland now?
Well, the Victoria Park facility is very old as well, and or the residents are in there now. It'd be nice for them to stay.
So what's happening at the Vic Park premises now?
We're looking at other development options there. The multi-storey development there was... Okay.
Thank you very much. Councillors, any further questions? No, thank you very much. Mr Heading, for that deputation and for coming in this evening and answering those questions. Councillors, we move to 6.3. Councillor questions in regard to items on the agenda. Do you have any questions? Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, my questions are about the data and local structure plan number 4 and the amendment. I just would like to understand, first of all, where has the rest of the amendment gone? It looks like it's not complete. We don't have the full document.
Mr Vanderlip or Mr Russell?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. What's been included in terms of the structure planning documentation is what we call the Part 1 implementation part of the structure plan document. And that's salient because Part 1 is the part that is statutorily adopted by the Commission. So that's the bit that gets the stamp. The Part 2, which is where the rest of the contents page references other documents, the Part 2 is the explanatory section. Now, often given, depending on the size of things, we generally include the Part 1, which is the bit that the council is formally considering and making a recommendation on, and we exclude out the Part 2. So in this instance, the Part 2, the other material that the Deputy Mayor has correctly pointed out is not contained in the agenda. That's the reason why.
Thank you. Do you have a further question?
Yeah, can we get a copy of the further section because it contains the groundwater and surface water section on the water management section?
Certainly I can provide that. I'm not sure that it includes the drainage arrangement with respect to the basins that you've heard referred to as B, C and D, which are on the adjoining land.
Yeah, thank you, Mr Russell. That was my next question. How do we get information about that? Because it appears we can't approve this structure plan amendment without having details of exactly how the drainage is going to work.
Through you, Madam Mayor, what I can say is that the drainage arrangements for the balance of this network, so Basin A is within this portion of the POS and it's interconnected with Basins B, C and D. Basins B, C and D form part of the Urban Water Management Plan for the adjoining subdivision. They have been, that has been approved, and what I can tell you very recently is that we have issued practical completion on drainage works, and one of the errors that has been suggested as the fault for the inoperability of the interconnected drainage network was an incorrectly placed invert level and an outlet pipe in Basin B, which was some 30 to 50 centimetres higher than it needed to be to allow the water, as Ms Zek has correctly pointed out, to run downhill to Basin C. That has been rectified, so now gravity takes effect and the water from Basin B may empty out from the outlet pipe running downhill into the other basins and work as it should.
I'll just ask Mr Coaten, did you have something further to add?
Through you, Madam Mayor, I think Mr Russell has covered it well, but just to also add to that, so when the contractor did the drainage in Basins A and B, the inlets and outlets of 2 of the bubble ups were set higher than they should have been, so that didn't allow the water to flow, so that contributed to some of the recent flooding problems in the area, and they have been rectified now. And I'm happy to, while it's not sort of directly relevant to this, I'm happy to circulate perhaps just a schematic to council explaining how basins B, C and D fit into it, and noting also the comment in the report that the detailed pipe sizing and levels is approved at the subdivision stage, but I can circulate a bit of an overview for council.
That would be very helpful. Thank you very much.
Just one further question then. So can you clarify that the gas pipeline itself is not an issue? So it's not a fact that the pipe has to go too close to the level of the gas pipeline, the drainage pipe, that is.
Through you, Madam Mayor, I wouldn't say it's not an issue, but it's not an insurmountable issue. So the original design included a swale through there, but as a result of the requirements of that, it needed to be piped.
Thank you. Councillors, are there any further questions for staff? Councillor Howlett.
Thank you. Just following on about Basin B and the inlets and outlets that the contractor apparently set too high. My question is, was the contractor following the drainage plans when he set those inlets and outlets at the level that he did, or was this an error that he made himself?
Mr. Coaten.
Or herself, I should say.
My understanding is that it wasn't constructed in accordance with the design.
And I have a further question, please, if I may. Is there a reason why Cheryl Rogers had to go through Freedom of Information to access the drainage plans for this area?
That's a very good question. Or Mr. Travascus, do you have anything? No?
Yeah, through the chair, without seeing the request, I'll have to take that on notice and get back to you.
Okay, thank you.
That would be good if that could please be supplied before we go to next week's meeting. Thank you.
Councillors, are there any further questions for staff? I had Councillor Henderson.
As I raised in an earlier question, in regard to the drainage for the houses along Harrow Street for the proposed development, have staff assessed that the water can in fact flow down Harrow Street to the Harrow Street drain that's east of, I think it's Cranley Street?
Mr. Coaten.
The detailed design, as I mentioned, is done at the subdivision stage, but staff have worked with the developer's consultant and are satisfied that a drainage solution is possible with the levels.
So given that Harrow has been raised with a new asphalt surface, has that been taken into account?
My understanding is that it has, but I will circulate some information to councillors on the proposal for the alternative drainage arrangements.
Councillor Singh, you had a question?
Yes, please. Just similar with the Councillor Howlett, because I already sent an email requested by the Dighton residents group about the blueprints of the drainage. So as we heard from the deputations, someone accessed over the drainage plan, but they have to be questioned on our accessibility as a councillor. The community has mentioned in the public already, being the councillors couldn't get any plans like drainage plans or blueprints. So I've been requested from last week already. So I just want to know, so if we can get that information to deliver that community members, if he's available for public or any relevant information, please. Thank you.
Would you like to respond, Mr. Coaten?
Well, councillors are entitled to any information which they require to assist in their role as a council. I'm not aware of Councillor Singh's particular request. I haven't seen that personally, but we can certainly follow up on that.
We'll follow that up, Councillor Singh. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Councillors, are there any further questions for staff? Councillor Bowman?
Thanks, Madam Mayor. I'll change the topic and go to item 14.5.1. And I've asked a few of these questions, but can the Exec Director just explain to me, and I'll make probably a simple one. If we look at the employee benefit provisions, we're 934% favourable, and we update them in December and June each year. Why is it that we budget evenly through all the months and we know we're not going to do that?
Mr. Travascus.
Through the chair, so for that line item, that balance sheet line item, we don't phase that through the budget process. So it's just built into the monthly financial model that we use. And that model at the moment is set up just to phase it evenly over 12 months. So that's why there's the variance. The actual, as in the response, the reason to pick it up in June is because that's after the, not June, the mid-year review is that's because after the financial audit's been signed off and we know exactly what that amount will be.
So follow-up question, knowing that we phase evenly over the months, and our expense or what we do doesn't happen until quarterly or in this time twice a year. Are we looking at improving that in future to better reflect the timing?
Mr. Vasquez?
Through the chair, yes, we're always looking to improve those processes. The budgeting system we're using through One Council, Enterprise Budgeting Module, we've been using for the last 2 years. So we're looking at ways to modify and improve that every year.
Further questions? Councillors, are there any further questions for staff? Councillor Henderson.
Thank you. Coming back to 14.3.1, I asked about public open space. Now, clearly, developers put in for a developer contribution to public open space, but when there isn't going to be anything developed on this site, how does that POS funding, if you like, get offset against there being actually no additional POS here? I don't quite understand that.
Thank you. Mr. Russell, if you're able to answer.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The consequence of a reduction in public open space in this instance with this structure plan means that the infrastructure that needs to be provided is reduced. So what it will actually mean is in those instances is that the cost contribution will be less if less POS is to be provided.
Okay, so shouldn't they pay for the offset?
Mr. Russell.
Sorry, I'm lost there, Madam Mayor. What offset?
Just really.
What I'm saying is because there's that offset, shouldn't they have to pay effectively the difference for not having to develop it on here?
Through you, Madam Mayor, the cost contributions are based on the total sum of infrastructure that needs to be provided, and that can include public open space. So if the public open space is reduced, the cost of the overall infrastructure is also reduced. That means people pay less, or subdividers pay less. There's less to pay for. So it may well be at the moment, if we have taken contributions based on a greater amount of POS than what is going to be in place if this amendment goes through, then it may well ultimately, if we have taken overcharged or taken more than what the ultimate contribution amount is under this structure plan amendment, then at the end of the life of the DCP we would have an obligation to provide a refund. But generally speaking, what is happening here is that developers are paying less, will have a net reduction in cost contributions. And you may say, from a planning point of view and a housing supply point of view, is that if they are having to pay less in contributions, that may mean that housing prices or land development costs are less, and that might be a cost saving that's passed on to the consumer. But I wouldn't go too far along those lines. But ultimately, they'll be paying less if the infrastructure cost is reduced.
Further question?
There is, and so the benefit is that they get extra lots, and so they make extra money, and to the detriment elsewhere. So just simply, I don't see the benefit, overall benefit, to the purchaser ultimately, that they get the benefit without having to effectively pay for the on-site POS. But I think I've got the answer. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Hallett, did you have a question earlier?
I do. It's a bit hard to try and phrase it, but I'm just wondering if it would be fair to say that the developer considers that the public open space in the greater area outside of this particular development is adequate. So it's that they're considering that. However, the drainage issues outside of their development are not a consideration for them. Would that be a fair statement?
Mr. Russell.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The developers are certainly saying two things, and that's what's in the report, is that in this local structure plan area, there is some 25% of the gross subdivisible area is provided for public open space, including the extensive active space in close proximity to this area. So 10% is the nominal provision. What you tend to find here is, as the way land is developed and the trend for provision of drainage integrated into POS as opposed to old-fashioned compensation basins, is that you've had necessarily drainage areas being made or shallowed out, to use the phrase, incorporated into POS. But what that's often done is the area that can be credited as usable public open space has to take into account greater areas of incorporation of drainage. So what you invariably find is that the amount of public open space provided in these subdivisions is well beyond the 10% because of the drainage incorporation. Now, the applicants here have been able to request an amendment because the area necessary that would have been required for drainage under the original structure plan arrangement predicated all of the drainage being in this public open space area. Because that has been able to have been transferred in the subdivision of the adjoining land into the pipeline corridor area, you've been able to free up in the drainage requirements that was in the public open space depicted in the original structure plan. So if they no longer need that requirement principally for drainage as opposed to for POS purposes, given there's more than 10%, they've seen the opportunity to transfer redundant land, public open space land that would have had a drainage function, and to achieve an increase in lot yield for the benefit of housing supply. And of course, you know, no one's not accepting the fact that it means more money in the pockets of developers, but there is a net benefit from a planning context in utilising freed up land for necessary housing provision where it's no longer required for drainage.
You have a further question, Councillor Henderson? Are there any more questions on this item? Any further questions, councillors, for staff? No? If not, thank you very much to everyone in the gallery. Thank you very much for councillors and staff for attending tonight. And I now bring the meeting to a close at 6:58 p.m. Thank you.